The Astral Invasion is an intense ride experience combining simulator walkthrough and dark ride elements. The story is about an alien invasion of a space station that the rider has to investigate after being sent an emergency signal. As the player goes deeper into the station, the extent of the damage is revealed as it becomes more and more infested. There are many scenes involving animatronic monsters that interact with the riders, making it a very scary experience. Shuju and I built this over the course of a year and finally released it in July of 2022. So we start off any build with the plans on MS Paint, and I drew them this time around. But if you'd notice, the layout of the ride is much different from the final product because we had lots of useless hallways that I added in there with boxes falling on top of the riders. So here's some footage of the experiment world that we made with like it was basically the testing grounds of the different ride systems that we wanted to have in here. We had this awesome spinny tunnel type deal. Since this ride was going to have launches, we needed a vehicle that could make that happen. So what we did was we took the Christmas ride vehicles and added upstop wheels to them. There was this really complicated contraption that Shrutu made, but it was quite ridiculous, if I'm gonna be honest. So the ride starts at a moon base, getting onto a ship that brings the riders to the space station, and this was done using a simulator on a motion base. So we had to build a whole capsule thing with windows to look out into space, and it had to like rock back and forth like it's flying. And the captain of the ship here is actually a robot, and this is actually the original version of how it looked, but then we changed it to like a better guy that actually uses motion capture.
Hello and welcome. I'm SN1956271 and I will be your captain for today.
Basically, we got an Xbox Kinect that goes into a software that records the movements and then puts it onto these like robotic joints in the game.
Critical failure detected.
The player gets sucked towards the window using a fan in the wall. Docking to the space station involves a bridge that extends out of the space wall and connects up to the door on the ship. Here's the gizmo that makes the dust in the vents happen to make it look like an alien is crawling through them. This is me making the first alien encounter of the game where it chases you. This is us planning out the lab scene. This is the guy that walks around behind the shelves and stares at you. Here we were building the scene with the drop track. So here I was building the cafeteria scene of the ride. Here I'm building the mothership that the aliens came through and broke through the window and attacked everybody in the cafeteria, and that's why everybody's slimed. This is how the glowing, mysterious alien pit works at the start of the game. This is around the time we started filming the trailer for the ride, so what we did was we used the spectator mod that Shrutu made and put the cameras on pistons that did a preset motion that we could match up and make the whole like scene look messed up, and like it could like switch between the two. And I mean, first we filmed the messed up, destroyed version of the ride, and then we made a separate world file where we cleaned up the place to make it look like how it was before the alien invasion. As building was going on, I was spending time in my own world building the big scary monster that would go at the end of the ride. And then work began on the finale scene, the climax of the ride in the pilot's quarters. There's this big space window that the pilots could look out at, and a bunch of pipes, and there's this reactor with like a glowing core thing in there, and it's very cool. We made sure to block the sightline of the monster so you can't see it until you get up to it. So after the alien is defeated, we go into our launch getting away from it, and the alien swings at the riders several times as they try to escape. So after the launch, the riders get into an escape pod and then go shooting through space. It's like that simulator part of Rise of the Resistance, except we have to actually physically do that. So what we did was we took a previous ride system from the Captain's Curse ride, we call it the Falsum track, and made a capsule that the ride vehicle would sit in while being on top of it. The ride ends by crashing into the moon that we started on, and how we originally had this done was we had the escape pod land itself in the crashed position, but this wound up being unfeasible, so we just decided to teleport the players when their vision was blacked out due to the explosion. This is where another mod that Shrutu made comes into play, because we made cutscenes for the crash scene and the end credits. It's able to take control of the player's camera and turn the vision on and off as well as fly around. After the players are teleported, the escape pod has to go reset, but first it goes goes to drop off the ride car that is inside of it. So we have this mechanism that takes it out and then brings it back to the starting station at the beginning of the ride. The moon crash is not the only use of teleporting in the ride. It's also used at the very beginning once you go into the ship. It actually teleports you down to a duplicate ship that's the actual motion base. The top one is just for aesthetics. So once we finished building the ride, we went back and compiled lots of sound effects and music files to put into it. This involved replacing the entire game's sound data with the one that we made that had our stuff. We went back and added our own footsteps and other common sounds to make up for it. There are sensors in the track that trigger the music and sound effects. Each scene's music is actually loopable and moves with the ride, so it doesn't progress until you do. The music fits perfectly for both the intense and calm moments of the ride. We used lots of songs from White Bat Audio that make great royalty-free sci-fi music, which was very good for our case. This was our biggest project yet, and there's nothing like it in Scrap Mechanic. Be sure to check it out for yourself if you can. I'm gonna leave the download link for the map and the official POV in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found it interesting to see how the ride works and how we built it.